This past week something happened that most news outlets barely covered. The first Social Security checks of 2026 went out with a 2.8% raise. Sounds good, right? An extra $56 a month on average. But here is the part they did not tell you. The same day those checks went out, Medicare Part B premiums jumped to $202.90 per month. That is an increase of nearly 10%, the largest increase in 4 years. So that $56 raise, almost a third of it is already gone before you can spend a single penny. But here is where it gets worse, much worse, and I am going to walk you through exactly what is happening to retirement accounts in 2026 and beyond. I am going to show you the numbers they do not put in the headlines. I am going to explain the changes that could affect your purchasing power for years to come. And at the end, I am going to give you clear steps you can take right now to protect yourself. Let me start with the headline that should concern everyone paying attention. The Social Security Trust Fund is projected to run out of money in 2033. That is 8 years from now. When that happens, if Congress does nothing, benefits get cut automatically by 23%. Across the board, no exceptions. This is not speculation, this is not politics, this is math. Pure math based on how many people are paying in versus how many people are taking out. 23%. Let me put that in real numbers for you. The average retiree receives about $2,071 a month right now. A 23% cut means losing $476 every single month. That is $5,712 a year. Gone. Vanished. For a typical retired couple, we are talking about over $13,000 disappearing from their annual income. These are not abstract numbers. This is rent money. This is grocery money. This is medicine money. Now, some people say Congress will fix it. They always have before, right? Well, Congress has known about this problem for decades. The last time they seriously reformed Social Security was 1983, over 40 years ago. Every year they wait, the solutions become harder and more painful. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget calculated that if policymakers wait until 2034, restoring solvency would require either a 34% payroll tax increase or a 26% benefit cut. Neither option is politically easy, but the math does not care about politics. But let me be absolutely clear about something. Social Security is not going bankrupt. It is not going to disappear completely. Even after the trust fund runs out, payroll taxes will still come in every month from workers across America. Those taxes would cover about 77% of scheduled benefits. So you would still get something. Just not what you were promised, not what you planned for, not what you need to maintain your standard of living. Stay with me, because later I am going to show you exactly how to prepare for this possibility, whether Congress acts or not. Now let us talk about what is happening right now, not 8 years from now, right now in 2026. The cost of living adjustment for 2026 is 2.8%. This formula is designed to help seniors keep up with inflation. The problem is the formula does not reflect what seniors actually spend money on. Healthcare costs have been rising at 5 to 7% per year. Housing costs keep climbing in most markets. Food prices remain elevated from the pandemic years. Prescription drug prices, even with recent negotiations, remain high for many common medications. The Senior Citizens League, a non-partisan advocacy group that has tracked this for years, calculated that Social Security benefits have lost 20% of their purchasing power since 2010. Let me say that again because it is important. 20%. If you retired in 2010 with a certain level of buying power, you would need 20% more money today just to buy the exact same things. But you did not get 20% more in your checks. Not even close. You got squeezed, year after year, slowly but surely, like a frog in water that heats up gradually. Here is how the math works specifically in 2026. The average Social Security check goes up by $56. That sounds decent at first. But Medicare Part B premiums go up by $17.90, automatically deducted from your check. The Part B deductible goes up by $26 for the year, which you will pay at your first doctor visit. So before you even buy groceries or pay rent or fill your gas tank or turn on the heat, almost a third of your raise is already gone to healthcare costs alone. That leaves you with about $38.10 in actual spending power. $38 to cover everything else that went up in price this year. And I have not even mentioned the people who pay higher Medicare premiums based on their income. If your income is above $109,000 as an individual or $218,000 for couples filing jointly, you pay significantly more. We call these IRMA surcharges. That stands for Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amounts. These surcharges can push your Part B premium from $202 all the way up to $689.90 per month. That is over $8,000 a year, just for Part B coverage. And many people do not realize they will owe these higher amounts until the bill arrives. This brings me to an important point that almost nobody talks about. The income thresholds for taxing Social Security benefits have not changed since 1984, 40 years ago. Back then, lawmakers set the threshold at $25,000 for individuals and $32,000 for couples. These amounts were specifically meant to target wealthy retirees, not average workers. But because Congress never adjusted these thresholds for inflation over 4 decades, about half of all Social Security recipients now pay federal taxes on their benefits. Half. What was meant to affect only the wealthy now hits solidly middle-class retirees. What was meant to be rare has become common. Now, there is some good news on the tax front. If you qualify, there is a new senior deduction of up to $6,000 available for tax years 2025 through 2028. This came from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act passed last year, but it phases out if your modified adjusted gross income exceeds $75,000 as a single filer, or $150,000 for couples filing jointly. So it helps some people significantly, but does not help everyone. If you fall in that income sweet spot, make sure to take advantage of it. Talk to your tax preparer specifically about this new deduction. Let me talk about 401ks and other retirement accounts now. There are major changes taking effect in 2026 that could cost certain workers thousands of dollars in unexpected taxes. This is something almost nobody in the mainstream media is discussing. Under the Secure 2.0 Act, if you earned more than $150,000 last year, and you're over 50 years old, you can no longer make catch-up contributions to your 401k on a pre-tax basis. Starting this year, you must contribute those extra amounts to a Roth account instead. What does this mean practically? It means you pay taxes now at your current rate instead of deferring them until retirement, when your rate might be lower. You lose the fundamental choice of when to pay your tax bill to Uncle Sam. The catch-up limit for workers aged 50 to 59 and those 64 and older is $8,000 for 2026. For those aged 60 to 63, there is a special super catch-up contribution of $11,250. If you make these contributions as Roth instead of traditional, you pay taxes up front on all of it. For someone in the 24% federal tax bracket, that is nearly $2,000 in extra federal taxes this year alone, right now, when you might prefer to have that money working for you and compounding over time. Now, to be fair, Roth accounts do have significant benefits. Your money grows completely tax-free. Withdrawals in retirement are tax-free if you follow the rules. You do not have required minimum distributions, forcing you to take money out at 73. But this change takes away your choice and flexibility. It forces higher earners into one specific strategy, whether it is best for their individual situation or not. Personal finance is personal. One size definitely does not fit all when it comes to retirement planning. Here is something else that many people miss entirely. Some employer retirement plans do not even offer Roth 401k options to their employees. If your company plan does not have a Roth option, you might lose the ability to make catch-up contributions entirely. Talk to your HR department as soon as possible. Find out exactly what options your plan offers. Do this now at the beginning of the year, not in December when it is too late to adjust your strategy. The base contribution limit for 401k plans in 2026 is $24,500. For IRAs it is $7,500, with an additional $1,100 catch-up available if you are over 50. These numbers go up slightly each year with inflation adjustments, but they do not go up as fast as actual inflation has been running. So, in real purchasing power terms, your ability to save for retirement is slowly shrinking relative to what you will need. Now let us talk about the Social Security payroll tax and how it affects workers still building their retirement. In 2026, the maximum taxable earnings cap rises to $184,500. That is up from $176,100 in 2025. If you earn above this new cap, you will pay Social Security taxes on an additional $8,400 of your income this year. That translates to about $500 to $21 more in payroll taxes coming out of your paychecks over the course of the year. Let me show you the bigger picture now. Let me show you what multiple surveys are telling us about how Americans truly feel about their retirement prospects. The numbers are sobering and worth understanding. 64% of Americans worry more about running out of money in retirement than they do about death itself. Think about that reality for a moment. Running out of money before running out of life is more frightening to most people than dying. That tells you everything about the level of financial anxiety people are carrying. That tells you how uncertain so many Americans feel about their future. About 32% of Americans expect Social Security to be their primary source of retirement income. For people already collecting benefits, that number jumps to 53%. For those with household incomes below $50,000 per year, it exceeds 50%. These people are not being irresponsible or careless. They worked hard their entire lives. They played by the rules. The system just was not designed for this many people to depend on it this heavily, for this long. Among seniors surveyed by the Senior Citizens League, about 27% rely solely on Social Security for their entire income. No savings to draw from, no pension from a former employer, no rental income or investments, just that one check every month. For these retirees specifically, a 23% cut would be absolutely devastating. It would mean choosing between food and medicine, between heat in winter and housing payments, between barely surviving and actually living with any quality of life. Here is what I find most deeply concerning about all of this. The poverty rate among older adults in America could essentially double if benefit cuts happen without meaningful reform. The American Enterprise Institute projects that over 3.8 million additional seniors could fall into poverty. These are people who already struggle every day, who already cut back on food, medicine, utilities, and basic necessities. A 23% reduction in their income would push them completely over the edge into genuine hardship. Now let me discuss something more positive that happened recently. The Social Security Fairness Act passed in January 2025, and it made a real difference for millions of people. This law repealed two long-standing provisions that had reduced benefits for certain public sector workers for decades: teachers, police officers, firefighters, federal and state civil servants who had pensions from government jobs that were not covered by Social Security. These dedicated workers were subject to something called the Windfall Elimination Provision and the Government Pension Offset. These complicated rules reduced their Social Security benefits substantially, sometimes by hundreds of dollars every single month. It always felt unfair because many of these people had also worked other jobs where they paid into Social Security for years. The Fairness Act finally eliminated these reductions and made the change retroactive all the way back to January 2024. Over 3.2 million people are now receiving an average of $360 more per month in their benefits. Retroactive lump sum payments totaling approximately $17 billion were paid out by July 2025. If you are a former teacher, police officer, firefighter, or any kind of public servant with a government pension, check your Social Security statement immediately. You might be owed money. You might have benefits waiting for you that you did not even know about. But here is the important trade-off to understand. The Fairness Act costs real money. Money that ultimately comes from the trust fund that is already running short. Some analysts calculate it accelerated the insolvency date by approximately 1 year. So while it absolutely helped millions of workers finally get benefits they had legitimately earned, it also made the overall funding problem somewhat worse. Everything in policy is connected. Every benefit has a cost somewhere. Every fix creates new downstream challenges. Now, I want to talk about something that affects everyone, with retirement savings regardless of whether they rely on Social Security. Market risk, specifically something called sequence of returns risk. This is a concept that keeps financial advisors awake at night, worrying about their clients. If the stock market drops significantly in the first few years of your retirement, your portfolio might never fully recover, even if the market eventually goes back up. Why? Because you are withdrawing money to live on at the exact same time your investments are shrinking in value. It is a devastating double hit that can wipe out decades of careful saving. Two retirees with identical portfolios and identical withdrawal rates can have completely different long-term outcomes depending entirely on what the market does in their particular first 5 years of retirement. The required minimum distribution age is now 73 years old. It rises further to 75 in 2033. This means you must start taking money out of traditional retirement accounts at that age, whether you want to or need to or not. If the market happens to be down significantly when you are forced to take that required distribution, you lock in those losses permanently. You cannot wait for a market recovery. The IRS does not care what the stock market is doing when your birthday comes around. Morningstar, one of the most respected investment research firms, now recommends a 3.9% withdrawal rate for retirement portfolios intended to last 30 years. This is notably lower than the old 4% rule that financial planners quoted for decades as conventional wisdom. They further suggest skipping your annual inflation adjustment entirely in years when the market performs poorly to preserve your principal. This is how uncertain and challenging the retirement planning environment has become. Even the experts are getting considerably more cautious with their guidance and recommendations. Let me talk about the generational divide in retirement readiness, because this situation affects different age groups in dramatically different ways. Baby boomers, those born between 1946 and 1964, generally have the highest accumulated retirement savings of any generation. The median for this group is around $270,000. Many still have traditional pensions from companies that used to offer defined benefit retirement plans. They benefited from decades of relatively stable employment and generous employer-sponsored benefits. But they now face rapidly rising healthcare costs and the actuarial risk of outliving their money if they survive into their 90s. Medical advances mean longer lifespans, but also much longer retirements that need funding. Generation X, those born from 1965 to 1980, faces the most challenging retirement road ahead of any generation. They have dramatically lower pension access than their parents. Only about 14% of Gen X workers have any kind of defined benefit pension. They were hit especially hard by the Great Recession of 2008 and 2009, right when they should have been in their peak earning and saving years. Many are now sandwiched between the financial demands of caring for aging parents and the need to help adult children who struggle to afford housing and education. Only 64% of Generation X feels confident about retiring comfortably someday. That represents the lowest retirement confidence level of any generation surveyed. Millennials born from 1981 to 1996 have actually started saving for retirement earlier on average than previous generations did. They are taking advantage of automatic enrollment features in 401k plans that did not exist for their parents. But they carry enormous student debt burdens and face housing costs that are far higher relative to their incomes than any previous generation experienced. About 42% are statistically on track for a secure retirement, which is actually better than baby boomers surprisingly. But they have decades of economic and political uncertainty ahead and will retire into a social security system that may look radically different than it does today. Generation Z, those born from 1997 to 2012, shows the most promising early saving behavior in some important ways. They are starting to save at a median age of just 20 years old. That makes them the youngest generation in American history to embrace retirement savings this early. But 46% have already dipped into their retirement accounts prematurely to pay off debt or cover emergencies. These early withdrawals come with stiff tax penalties and, more importantly, permanently lost compounding growth. Money pulled out in your 20s could have grown to many times its value by retirement. This short-term thinking could hurt them enormously 30 or 40 years from now. Now let me give you the specific action steps you can take. This is the practical information you came here for. What can you actually do right now to protect yourself? I'm going to walk through 10 concrete actions. Number 1, know your own Social Security situation inside and out. Create a My Social Security account at ssa.gov if you have not already done so. Check your complete earnings record carefully. Make sure all your income from every job has been recorded correctly by Social Security. Errors happen more often than people realize. They can cost you thousands of dollars in reduced benefits over your entire retirement. One missing year of high earnings could permanently lower your monthly check. Number 2, delay claiming your Social Security benefits if you can possibly afford to do so. Every single year you wait past age 62, your benefit grows substantially. At full retirement age, which is now 67 for anyone born in 1960 or later, you receive 100% of what you earned. If you wait all the way until age 70, you get approximately 8% more for each year you delayed past full retirement age. That adds up to a 24% larger monthly check for the rest of your life. If your health is good and you have other income sources to bridge the gap, waiting is often the single best guaranteed return on investment you will ever find. Number 3. Consider Roth conversions as part of your tax planning strategy. If you believe tax rates will rise in the future, or if you want to minimize required minimum distributions later, converting some traditional IRA money to Roth can make excellent sense for certain situations. You pay the taxes now at rates you know instead of later at rates you cannot predict. Then your money grows completely tax-free forever. This strategy is complicated and involves many personal factors. Talk to a qualified tax professional, but understand that this powerful option exists and could save you substantially over time. Number 4. Do not rely solely on Social Security, no matter what happens with the trust fund. Even if Congress successfully fixes the funding problem, benefits were never intended to be your only source of retirement income. They were originally designed to replace only about 40% of pre-retirement earnings for typical workers. You absolutely need other income sources to maintain your standard of living: personal savings, investment accounts, part-time work, rental income from property, something beyond that monthly government check. Number 5. Manage your healthcare costs aggressively and proactively. Review your Medicare options every single year during open enrollment without fail. Compare Medicare Advantage plans carefully against original Medicare with a supplemental Medigap policy. Consider whether you qualify for a Medicare savings program if your income is low enough to meet the thresholds. These state-administered programs can pay your Part B premium for you entirely. Do not leave money sitting on the table simply because you did not know assistance programs existed. Number 6. If you are still working with earned income, maximize your retirement contributions to the legal limit. The 20 and 26 limits are the highest they have ever been in nominal terms: $24,500 for 401k and similar workplace plans, $7,500 for IRAs, catch-up contributions available on top of those amounts if you qualify. Use these opportunities fully. Even if contributing the maximum feels financially tight right now, you will thank yourself many years from now. Every dollar you save today has the potential to grow to $3 or $4 or more by retirement through compound growth. Number 7. Have a concrete plan specifically for longevity and long-term care. People are living much longer than previous generations did. A person turning 65 today has approximately a 70% statistical chance of needing some form of long-term care assistance during their remaining lifetime. Medicare generally does not cover extended nursing home stays or home care services. Plan for this possibility explicitly. Consider purchasing long-term care insurance if you can afford the premiums and qualify for coverage. At minimum, understand what professional care actually costs in your area and think about how you would pay for it. The average nursing home in America costs well over $100,000 per year now. Number 8. Carefully watch the earnings test if you claim Social Security benefits before reaching your full retirement age. If you continue working while collecting benefits early, there is a strict limit on how much you can earn before your benefits get reduced. In 2026, that earnings limit is $24,480. If you earn above that threshold, $1 of benefits is withheld for every $2 you exceed the limit. This money is not permanently lost. Your benefit amount increases later to account for what was withheld. But it can cause serious cash flow problems in the short term if you do not plan for it and budget accordingly. Number 9. Stay informed and actively engaged with changes to the retirement system. The rules change every single year. Tax laws change. Medicare coverage and costs change. Social Security regulations change. Do not assume that what you learned 5 or 10 years ago is still accurate today. Read articles and watch content from reliable sources. Ask questions of professionals when you do not understand something. Attend educational workshops if your employer or local community offers them. Knowledge really is protection when it comes to retirement planning. Number 10. Strongly consider getting professional financial advice from a qualified advisor. I understand that professional advice costs money up front, but a good financial planner can identify savings opportunities and tax strategies you would never discover on your own. Look specifically for fee-only fiduciary advisors. These advisors are legally required to act in your best interest at all times, not simply sell you products that generate commissions for them. A single comprehensive planning session with the right advisor could save you thousands of dollars over your entire retirement. According to the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, if policymakers wait all the way until 2034 to act, restoring full solvency to Social Security would require either a massive 34% increase in payroll taxes or a painful 26% across-the-board benefit cut. Neither of those options is remotely politically easy to accomplish, but the math does not care about political difficulty. The math just gets worse with each passing year of inaction. I want to leave you with this overall perspective on everything we have discussed. The challenges facing retirement accounts in 2026 and beyond are absolutely real. They are not exaggerated for dramatic effect. They are not made up to generate clicks. Medicare premiums are genuinely rising faster than Social Security benefit increases. The trust fund is genuinely running out of time with each passing year. Higher earning workers face genuinely new tax rules on their retirement contributions. The purchasing power of benefits genuinely keeps shrinking year after year. But this situation is not hopeless. You have real options available to you. You have time to act if you start now and do not delay. The absolute worst thing you can do is ignore all of this information. The worst approach is to pretend the problems do not exist. The worst strategy is hoping that somebody else will fix everything without any adjustment on your part. I want you to remember 3 specific numbers from this video going forward. 23% is the automatic benefit cut that happens if nothing changes by 2033. 77% is the fraction of scheduled benefits you would receive if that cut becomes reality. And 8 years is approximately how much time remains before that outcome becomes unavoidable without congressional action. I said at the beginning that most seniors have no idea what is happening to their retirement account. Now you have the information. You are no longer in that uninformed majority. You are educated on the real situation. You are prepared to take protective action. You are ahead of the curve. Thank you sincerely for spending this time with me today. If you found this information helpful, please share it with someone in your life who needs to hear it. A parent, a spouse, a friend approaching retirement. Leave a comment below telling me your biggest retirement concern. Subscribe to stay updated on future changes that could affect your financial security. Until next time, take good care of your money so it can take good care of you.